Hi everyone. This is BMN 502, History of Buddhism. Today is the last day of our meetings. The date is March 15th, 2021. All what we are doing today is to review what we have done so far, and we have the final exam today, as you are aware of. So you will be getting an email from the school asking you what to do with regard to the final, and hopefully it won't be much difficult. And thank you very much for submitting your homework. Most of you have done it, and some of you are, I think, still not completed. So check whether you have completed it, and then as soon as submit it, because you have only 3-4 days. And then no matter what you do, it won't be counted. So please submit your homework as well as the midterm, and this week the final. So I hope you enjoyed the class. Let us see what we did in this class. So this is, as the title says, the history of Buddhism. So when you say history of Buddhism, the early history of Buddhism, of course, you may call it Indian Buddhism too, because Buddhism started in India, originated in India, and then it spread into other parts of the world. But in this class, we are covering only the early part of Indian Buddhism, like 1,000 years from the birth of the Buddha, about 1,000 years. So we saw in that period the birth of the Buddha and his career as a teacher, 45 long years of teaching, and then different phases of Buddhism, and how his teachings were preserved in Tripitaka, and then how the monks, how the disciples of the Buddha contributed themselves to safeguard, to preserve the teachings of the Buddha. These are the two important things: practice the teachings of the Buddha, preservation of the teachings of the Buddha, and at the same time spreading the teaching of the Buddha. 3 tasks were done, as you saw in the class: practicing it, preserving it, as well as spreading it. All these 3 aspects were clearly seen during this 1,000 years of history in Buddhism. And so you can find these 3 headlines, so the main events that occurred in the history of Buddhism. You can see these 3 aspects of Indian Buddhism. By the disciples of the Buddha, prominent disciples of the Buddha, what they did to practice, what they did to preserve the teachings, and what they did for the spread of Buddhism. If you think in terms of these 3 headlines, these 3 aspects, you can cover the whole Indian Buddhism. And as I told you, we were discussing at how Tripitaka, the 3 baskets, came into existence. And then we were looking at how Nikaya Buddhism, or the sectarian Buddhism, arose in India due to certain monastic disciplinary rules, and also depending on the new interpretations of Buddhism. When you say new interpretations, it means some monks, some groups actually, they wanted to realize, they wanted to interpret the teachings of the Buddha in a different way. In any tradition, as time goes by, things like that happen everywhere. It is a good thing. In my, we discussed this thing. It is a good thing when a certain force, certain organization, certain body is dynamic, is active. Things like that happens. When something is active, only divisions and splits and innovations could happen. So that happened in Buddhism around like after 100 years of the passing of the Buddha. There were, as we saw, at least 18 or 26 schools arose in Buddhism. Out of them, 2 of them are very important, like Mahasangika and the Staviravada, Theravada, the original Sangha, and the Mahasangika. So these 2 groups went into another further divisions, further splits, numbering altogether to 18 or sometimes 20. And then later we find King Ashoka, the most prominent person whose help and support was very important, crucial in establishing and spreading Buddhism in India. Because of his great contribution, his support, his help paved the way for Buddhism to become a dominant force in India as well as in the neighboring countries. So in history of Buddhism, his role, King Ashoka's, Emperor Ashoka's role is considered to be a gigantic one, a big one, because he paved the way for everything to happen. His royal support and his conversion, actually he converted himself to Buddhism after the big war, Kalinga War, it's called Kalinga War. After that war, he saw the death and devastation, and he became so disappointed with the trying to win people with force. And then he converted to Buddhism and changed 180 degrees. He made a U-turn in his life, and he realized that he could find solace, he could find relief in the teachings of the Buddha. And after he becoming a Buddhist, after he himself converting to Buddhism, he wanted his subjects, his people, to follow Buddhism, to follow the Buddha's teaching in their day-to-day life. That is why he erected inscriptions all across his kingdom. Those inscriptions were giving some Buddha's teachings in a short form. These are the things that you should do in order to find success in your day-to-day life. Buddhist principles, Buddhist ethics, all those things were spread out through stone inscriptions. When an inscription is, it's like a decree. It's like today we are issuing, in the modern days, we issue gazette notifications or certain rules issued by the government. In the same way, during that period, we are talking about the 3rd century BCE. In that period, King maybe that was the most prominent, most influential means of communication. That is why he erected stone pillars and stone inscriptions all across his kingdom. So people can read them and understand it and practice it. They are like the king's order. The king's order. So very important that he wanted to share Buddha's teaching with his subjects to make them righteous. And we saw that he was earlier he was following the path of war, and later, after he became a Buddhist, he converted himself. He followed the path of peace. So path of war instead of path of peace instead of path of war is the significant thing in his life. So it is called, he used the term for that, Dharma Vijaya, the very famous concept in Asoka's time. Asoka introduced this. Dharma Vijaya means the victory through righteousness, victory through the Dharma. When you are trying to win somebody through force with what you may call following a war, or with arms and ammunition, using all those things, that is called following the path of war. So he thought that it is not the right way. Right way is to win other people through the use of righteousness. Righteousness means, according to his understanding, righteousness is Buddhism. The Buddhist teachings are righteous teachings. They are helping you to understand your life. They are helping you to live an ethical life, good life. So follow them. And while he was following them, he wanted his people to follow the same. That's why he converted, actually, as we saw that he sent missionaries to 9 countries, 9 regions, so 9 countries. Sri Lanka received Buddhism because of his effort. So he won Sri Lanka. At the time, in the island of Sri Lanka, Ceylon, he won through righteousness. He got the victory through righteousness. He did not send armies. He did not send what you may call war tankers or things like that. He sent his son and daughter as envoys, like ambassadors, with the message of the Buddha. And then whole Sri Lanka became Buddhist, and also in the other regions as he went, he sent missionaries as far as Greece, to the Western regions. So Middle East and Burma, all those countries. So he had diplomatic missions, actually. In today's term, we can identify them as diplomatic missions. So they were carrying the message of the teachings of the Buddha. And through that, he was able to win the hearts of other people, other nations, other countries, neighboring countries. So that is one of the, according to his understanding, that is far greater than winning through force, winning through war, by providing the teachings of the Buddha, righteousness. He wanted to convert people. So his contribution in the history of early history of Buddhism, Asoka's contribution to the spread of Buddhism, as well as for the preservation of Buddhism, is immensely appreciated in the study of Indian Buddhism, history of Buddhism. And yes, you may know, he convened a council, the Third Buddhist Council, which is also one of the gigantic tasks of King Ashoka. He supported it. Actually, the monks did it, but without the king's help, his support, that couldn't have happened. So that is also one of the great things. And so in this manner, King Ashoka marks an indelible mark. He makes an indelible mark in the history of Buddhism. So his contribution is immensely recognized. And also we saw in our class that Nikaya Buddhism, because of the splits in the Sangha, splits in the community of Sangha, new interpretations came into existence. Out of them, we saw Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism and some other small schools came into existence. So as I told you in the class that if you have a negative feeling towards the split of Buddhism, I don't think it's correct. It's not negative. It is a good thing to happen. Split is a good thing. Conflict is a good thing. Usually, traditionally, people believe that conflicts are not good. But when you have conflicts in philosophical things, it is good. Through conflicts, what could happen is new ideas will come up. New ideas, new way of thinking will come up. So it is better to have conflicts, arguments, and debate. Buddhism, of course, accepts these things. When you have debates with others, when you have arguments with others, when you have conflicts with others, then only you can realize, then only you can reach the truth. Otherwise, you only see one side. So in order to have a full view of the thing, you have to look at from different angles. So Nikaya Buddhism, or this schism in Buddhism, is nothing else but identifying Buddhism in different ways, innovations. And then we discuss about the new tradition that came into existence, Mahayana Buddhism. You know, Mahayana, by now it's the word meaning is the greater vehicle. And they called themselves, they identified themselves as followers of the greater vehicles. And they pejoratively identified the other schools as Hinayana, or lower vehicle, inferior vehicle. And in that way, Mahayanist made a very, how do I say, very popular idea, popular innovation in Indian Buddhism. They made Buddhism a popular force in India. They had the ability of writing their teachings, whereas the other schools, Theravada Buddhism especially, they did not have the, they did not follow. Actually, they did have the access to writing, but they did not follow it. They were keeping the Tripitaka in memory, as we thought. They kept everything in oral tradition, following the oral tradition. So they, Mahayanists, they came up with writing, and their language was Sanskrit, other than the Pali and other dialects. Sanskrit was at the time the lingua franca. Lingua franca is the common language. And I'm talking about the 500, 450, 500 years after the passing of the Buddha. So during that time, Buddhism changed. So the major division, major distinctions between Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism is that Mahayana Buddhism, they were saying that they are following the Bodhisattva path. Bodhisattva path, or they want to become the Buddha, not just a Sravaka or not just a disciple of the Buddha. They themselves want to become the Buddha. Once you become the Buddha, you achieve the final salvation, final freedom, final liberation. If you just become an Arahant, or the second path is like a solitary saint or Pacheka Buddha, you are only partially enlightened according to their understanding. So in order to have the full, complete, whole enlightenment, you have to attain Buddhahood. This is a new idea that came up with Mahayana, emergence of Mahayana. So actually in this class, we were only focusing on these three periods, three periods, in the sense that the origin of Buddhism with the emergence of the Buddha, early Buddhism, and then Nikaya Buddhism. Nikaya Buddhism refers to the different sects and sectarianism. And the third phase is the early Mahayana Buddhism, early Mahayana, emergence of early Mahayana Buddhism. If you look at whatever the classes we discussed, whatever the lessons we learned, readings and all that, to summarize, these are the three phases of Indian Buddhism, early Indian Buddhism. Later, there are 2 or 3 other phases, but in this class, we are not focusing on those things, maybe in a future class. So these 3 aspects, early Buddhism, Nikaya Buddhism, and the early Mahayana Buddhism. So these were the 3 time periods that we covered in this class. And I hope everyone can follow what I'm saying. The book helped us a lot, the textbook. So mostly we were covering the books, but some chapters we did not read because I thought they're a little bit more for you. Anyhow, so your final will be based on what you read in the class, your homework and all that. And thank you very much for submitting your homework. And thank you very much for joining this class. And hopefully we all did a good job. Only 9 weeks. So if you haven't submitted your homework, I'm repeating, please do so. You have another 5 days, I would say, 5 days. Within these 5 days, please submit all of your homework assignments and midterm and the final, and then you are done. You are released. So if you have any question with regards to whatever we covered in the class or any other thing, please email me. Sometimes I do not, I have received all your emails, but sometimes I did not answer you. Don't worry. I have all records with me in my computer. So I evaluate all of them, and the next 5 days, after next 5 days, I will submit the grades and all that. So hopefully everyone will be happy, don't worry. But definitely you have to submit your papers, submit your assignments. Otherwise, you won't be happy. to make yourself happy, please submit them. So that is it, and you will get the final exam, the questions on final exam. Please write your answer in Microsoft Word, as I have been telling you, with your name, especially name and class and whatever. That is very important. Otherwise, you send something and I don't know who is this, who sent this one. So please do so. Hopefully, I don't think it will be a difficult task, difficult exam. Exam is to, exam is also one way of teaching. Actually, we are assessing what you have acquired in the class. At the same time, it is also a way of teaching. So please do the final exam and submit the papers. I hope that is it for today. And thank you, everyone. Stay healthy. And look forward to seeing you in future classes. So we have, I think, about 2 weeks break. So good luck with your finals. Thank you so much.